No Dak, no Lamar, couple of injuries at quarterback. Man, dude, quarterback's going to be rough this week. But while I'm here, let's decide who to start, who to sit. That's right. Start them, sit them. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so. Go ahead, leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And come bro and subscribe. The mock draft stuff is doing really, really well. Extremely well, actually. Gotten some love, gotten some hate. But we've been able to talk it out in the comments. And that's really what the mock drafts is for. Just to get familiar with names and to discuss. I love discussing sports, so let's continue the discussion. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at what we're going to do about quarterback for week, whatever we're in. What, week 8? Week 8? I think it's week 8. It's week 8. Let's talk about Thursday night. We got Washington versus Minnesota. Sit Case Keenum. He's versus... It's a decent matchup. I mean, the Vikings are so-so, but I don't like that offense. And he's got a few playmakers that'll be out among, I think Thompson, he didn't practice today, so we don't know his status. AP's out, so I just don't like it. But Minnesota, ride Kirk Cousins. Just ride Kirk Cousins until you hit that proverbial wall. That wall might be this week, just because it might be a run-heavy game script. They might get up early and just go back to their old ways. But the last 3 games in half PPR leagues, Kirk Cousins put up 24, 32, and 33. And his next game's against Kansas City, so still a viable option on your roster. Seattle versus Atlanta. Start Russell Wilson. This is a must start. This is start of the week. Man, the Falcons are just terrible, especially the secondary. As far as the Falcons, it's a little interesting because this is my opinion. Ryan, I don't. Why would you start Matt Ryan this week if you're the Falcons? You have a bye week coming up. Let him get healthy. But it looks like all signs are pointing to him starting this week, and you got to start Matt Ryan. He is a must start. The Seattle, they're 20th against opposing quarterbacks. But if Matt Schaub does play, go ahead and sit Matt Schwab or whatever the heck his name is. No business being on your roster. Philadelphia versus Buffalo. Interesting game. I'm going to say sit Wentz. It's hard to trust Wentz, especially after that Dallas game. They face a very tough defense here in Buffalo. So I think there's better starts out there. Start, for instance, Josh Allen. I mean, this is the thing. The Eagles, they just released Orlando, Scandrick. He's their he played a majority of their slot snaps, so now they got to find someone to fill in there. And they're already 23rd against opposing quarterbacks, so Josh could have a day. He has the running upside. Again, though, that front 4 is pretty scary there in Philly, but I like Allen in this matchup. Chargers versus the Bears, man. Juggernauts. Am I right? Sit, Mitch. Mitch is facing a very tough secondary there. But I mean, really, that's on you. I would sit him personally, but it's up to you. I don't like the matchup. They're 6th against opposing quarterbacks, and I would also sit Phillip Rivers. I know he gets Russell Okung back this week, but man, I think honestly the Bears have been shown that they can be run on, and they might go that avenue this week. I'm not confident with Rivers as a start. We got the Giants, we got the Lions. Matthew Stafford is a start. No carry on, no problem. What, we got to rely on Matthew Stafford's arm? I'm down for that. And then I would sit Jones. Daniel Jones really hasn't done much these past few weeks since the Tampa game. And despite the good matchup, because Detroit's 24th against opposing quarterbacks, Jones just fumbles the ball way too often. The Lions just not giving him the protection he deserves. Tampa Bay versus Tennessee. And let's start with a hot take. Start Ryan Tannehill. He's facing the 27th worst defense when it comes to opposing quarterbacks. And man, I'm a Dolphins fan, so Ryan, you burned me. You burned me in the past, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt this week. I would sit Winston. Tough matchup. Tennessee is a very, very good defense there. I know they'll be throwing a ton, so I mean, it could be like you could be in a predicament where it was like with the Carolina Panthers game where he had like 5 interceptions, but he threw for like 500 yards. So I don't like that. Denver versus Indianapolis. You're gonna sit Joe Flacco. I shouldn't have to tell you why, because he's Joe Flacco, and actually sit Jacoby Brissett this week because he's facing a very tough defense there. I think they're gonna try to run the ball. Denver's been susceptible to being ran on, and they're the 3rd best defense when it comes to opposing quarterbacks. Just saying, stats matter. Cincinnati versus the Chargers. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to sit Andy Dalton, man. Were you thinking of Jalen Ramsey's on the squad now? Don't do it. And then start Goff. 26 Cincinnati, they're 26 when it comes to giving points to opposing quarterbacks, and I think Goff will be like, yes, please. He was good last week. I think he should be good this week. He plays very well against sub 500 teams, and if my calculations are correct, Cincinnati is sub 500. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Cardinals versus the Saints. I would say start Teddy Bridgewater, but I don't know if he'll even play this week. It might be Breeze. I don't think they need to bring Breeze back, but watch that. Teddy's been a steady start the last few weeks. I know Jacksonville was kind of, but he's been playing a lot better. And honestly, they don't need Breeze to come back. If Breeze is there, start Breeze. But yeah, just keep an eye out on that, and then start Kyler Murray. Rough week last week, but I mean, the majority of and it was a good matchup against the Giants, but they just decided to run the ball a lot, and only with Chase Edmonds. Quite unusual, but yeah, I would start him. The defense, I know the defense for the Saints is getting better and better each week. It's a scary matchup. It's a low-end start this week, but he does have a huge upside. Jets versus Jaguars. Sit Uncle Rico. That's a pretty tough secondary there for the Jets. They're really good. They got a real good slot corner and Poole. They got great safeties, and I know the outside corners aren't all that great, but it still looks like a pretty tough matchup. I want to start him. I think they're going to just feed Fournette, and then sit Darnold. I mean, no kidding after that Patriots game, but hold on to him. His schedule gets very, very easy after that. So just sit him this week. Carolina versus San Fran. You're going to sit. I'm sitting a lot of people this week. It's a very interesting week when it comes to quarterbacks, but sit both Allen, sit Garoppolo. Garoppolo, he's in the business of winning games, not getting you fantasy football points. And Kyle Allen hasn't really been all that great recently, so yeah. And while we're talking about sitting quarterbacks, Cleveland versus New England. Baker, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I know you're tempted. You're like, ooh, but it's Baker Mayfield. But that Patriot defense is vicious. And then start Brady. No kidding, right? He's been wonderful for the majority of this whole year, whether it's him passing the ball or deciding to rush once in a while. Weird. Very random 2 rushing touchdown game a couple weeks ago. But yeah, the Browns are 22nd against opposing quarterbacks, so it's a good start. Oakland versus Houston. Hot take again. You're going to start Derek Carr. He's a low-end start because it's Derek Carr. You never know what you may get, but the matchup is great. The Texans are 28th against opposing quarterbacks. It's just a good matchup, especially in a week filled with such uncertainty. And then, man, Watson. You're starting Watson. After what Aaron Rodgers did to the Raiders secondary last week, I mean, the Raiders secondary, they're 29th against opposing quarterbacks. You start Watson. You drafted him early, too. How could you? Green Bay versus Kansas City. Very interesting matchup. Let's talk about Kansas City because in all likelihood, this is Matt Moore. It's a tough defense they got to face, 8th against opposing quarterbacks, and it's Matt Moore. I would say sit Matt Moore, but they're talking about Patrick Mahomes today. He was throwing the ball in practice. I still think he's a scratch for this game. He probably might come back next week, but we'll see. And it's hard to sit Rodgers after last week. I know Rodgers has been up and down, but it's a good matchup. I would say start him. And then let's talk about the Monday night game. My Miami Dolphins versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a good defense in Pittsburgh. Sit Ryan Fitzpatrick. No Fitzmagic this week. The Steelers, they're middle of the pack when it comes to their defense, but yeah, the Dolphin offense is just that bad. And then it's a good matchup for Mason Rudolph. I mean, the Dolphins, they're 31st. I mean, I imagine they're going to run the ball immensely. But if you really need a start, you could do a lot worse than Mason Rudolph. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube stuff. The channel's on the rise, so let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it going. I'm so proud of y'all. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.